Hey guys, this is Tim from Decoding Panels under the Codex Podcast banner. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you know when we've got this and other great stories coming your way, along with new episodes of the Codex Podcast. Alright, ready? Sit back, relax, and let's do this. It is night in Gotham. Arkham Asylum, the castle-like structure off in the distance, stands as a monument to mental health in a city full of criminal masterminds, insanity, and men dressed up as giant bats. The Batmobile blazes through the gates of Arkham, making its way to the front doors. A wonderful mixture of the Keaton and animated series Batmobiles. This state-of-the-art masterpiece flies up the hill toward the entrance. As it pulls up, Arkham guards wait for the driver. They extend the invitation to show them to whoever they need to go see, but that's not necessary. They've been here before, whoever they are, and they know right where to go. As the keys jangle in the lock, this person is asking about the well-being of whoever they've come to see. In a place like this, their well-being is definitely in question. Batman sits chained to the wall. No cape, no utility belt, but for some reason his cowl is still on. You think it would have been removed whenever he was committed. But one of the guards tells our mystery guest that Batman has been completely quiet with his time here so far. No words, no actions, as the guard almost calls this man that we see now as the Joker, but it's actually Jack Napier, the human identity of the Joker, before falling into the vat at Axis Chemicals and turning him into the Clown Prince of Crime. What's he doing here? Shouldn't he be the one in those chains and not Batman? It's obvious something has happened as Jack Napier comes up to Batman and tells him he needs his help. 1 year ago. The Joker is cruising down the street on a hoverboard, while flames shoot out the sides of the Batmobile as Batman hits the gas, trying to chase him down. Now, the Joker is up to something, and it's time to get this show started. Our first act, the open drawbridge, of course. Now, it's all about timing as the Joker launches himself over the gap. Inside the Batmobile, however, Batgirl screams that there's a fairy coming underneath. Does that stop Batman? Absolutely not. This is a regular Tuesday, and the Batmobile shoots off like a rocket across the gap of the bridge, slamming into the street on the other side. Way to stick that landing, Batman! Joker shouts that as he shoots off to their next trick, which obviously would be roof driving. Typical Tuesday indeed. The Joker bounces, and the Batmobile destroys as one chases the other. Now, people live in these buildings. How does Batman know the buildings won't crumble under the weight of the Batmobile? Batgirl and I are both curious about that fact, but Bats remains silent as he comes off the rooftops and back into the street. Now, Joker is more than ready to continue, and he needs a little crowd interaction this time. And it's almost like Batman doesn't even care about the people in the way as he barely misses one of the construction workers. Well, almost. One of them is in the way, but Mullet Wing swoops in just in time to pull him aside. Joker's beside himself with how all of this is turning out. Batman is obviously distracted here. It's a little hard to see those traffic cones with the Batmobile going full speed down the road, and Nightwing tells Batgirl exactly that and also tells him that she needs to get a hold on Batman. But dude, Batman doesn't listen to anybody except for Batman. Now, he's focused on only one thing here, and that's taking down the Joker. Now, Batman finally speaks, and he says that the Joker has headed into the industrial complex. Shooting his Gatling gun, he launches off in hot pursuit as Batgirl climbs on the back of Nightwing's bike. Batman's getting worse, she says, and Nightwing gives her the only advice worth giving right at the moment. Leave, like he did. Go on her own. But shortly thereafter, Batman plows right through a security guard. Batgirl stops to check on him, asking him if he's okay, and the guard says that he was just trying to tell Batman where the Joker went before he knocked him over. The Joker is cackling as he congratulates Batman on another great performance. Wait until they make a playset of that. Mint on card with fresh tissue still inside the case. Now, can Batman take some constructive criticism, though? A little sloppy work there, with almost killing that construction worker and all, and causing all that damage to the rooftops. Does Batman pay for that, or does the city? Batman completely disregards that. This isn't a performance, but the Joker continues on, chastising Batman for knocking down that security guard. It's hard to help him if Batman is going to go out of character all the time. Help him? Help Batman? Why, sure. I mean, Joker is always there to challenge him, to keep him on his toes. That's what makes this relationship so special. There is no relationship, Batman shouts as he tracks the Joker down. Oh, silly Batman. You and Joker are Gotham's favorite power couple as Joker sneaks up on Batman, axe in hand. Back to Nightwing and Batgirl. Now, what is so important inside that building to the Joker? Laughing gas? Guns? Random device to destroy the city? No, just pills. Some stuff the FDA was going to toss out anyways. What in the world does Joker want with pills? Now, Nightwing and Batgirl hop the stone wall and rush inside as Commissioner Gordon arrives and watches, patiently. Back to Batman as he pounds Joker across the jaw, sending him to the ground. Joker wipes the blood from his mouth and he tells Batman that they're a team, whether he wants to admit this or not. In Joker's delusional mind, Batman is the distancer and Joker is the overcomplicated one. Obviously it works. Batman shuts that right down again. Only in the Joker's mind does any of this work. It gives him purpose. It makes him feel special. But his massive ego won't let him see the real truth. That he doesn't matter. Not to Batman, and not to the city of Gotham. Not to anyone. Ouch. Batman's being real here, so now it's the Joker's turn, and he doesn't have to hold back his feelings. Batman knows the Joker's not holding back. He's got nothing left. Now, Bats, after all these years, you still have no idea what the Joker can actually do. Joker could have beaten you at any time and turned the city against you, all at a whim, but he didn't. He held back and only gave you what you could handle. Joker gave you Gotham City, this hellish war zone you guys created together, and they only keep you around because they're so terrified of him, the Joker. Now, Joker is the only one who really knows him. It's not about crime fighting or justice. It's about control. It's about fixing the city, and it's really about fixing Batman. But he's too stupid to see that. Crime is his therapy now, as Batman easily blocks an attack from the Joker. Batman can't even build a family because the thought of that absolutely terrifies him. How many innocent kids is he going to corrupt into his nightmare? Is that Nightwing or is that Robin? We're losing count here because they all keep disappearing. Now, Batman is losing it as he starts pounding into the Joker. But Joker does not stop. Even Gordon has had enough as he watches his men turned into cannon fodder as they fall during Batman's war on crime. It's all falling apart, and Batman needs to admit that. Crushing blow after crushing blow rocks into Joker's face as he tells Batman that the true villain of this city isn't him, but Batman himself. It certainly seems that way right now. Police officers and superheroes stand by and can only watch as Batman destroys the Joker, beating him relentlessly. The Joker knows the city better than anyone. To the cops, he's just psychotic, insanity in makeup. But tonight, he's going to prove it to everybody as he holds up a bottle of those mysterious pills. He's going to prove once and for all that if he can make himself better, make himself sane, and get this city back on track, the city itself will have to admit, finally, that Gotham City has needed him all along. Oh, absolutely, as Batman takes the pills out of Joker's hands. In the age of social media, it's no surprise that a cell phone starts to record as Batman starts pouring those pills down Joker's throat. Gordon, Bullock, Renee Montoya, Batgirl, and Nightwing can only stand by as they watch the events unfold. Batman holds his hand over the Joker's mouth as he forces him to take his medication. Joker can barely breathe before Batman climbs off of him, leaving him there in a bloody, now medicated mess. The Joker is taken away as our mysterious recorder tucks their phone safely away and moves on. Gotham Insider, a news broadcast with talking heads, and tonight they're discussing the Batgate scandal. Footage of Batman's beating of the Joker has gone viral, and according to this one person's opinion, the methods of the GCPD and Batman are being brought into question. Now, the man on the other side, however, he seems to be very happy that the Joker is in custody. The program goes into what a typical news broadcast would be with opposing views, but this is really our window of opinion as far as the citizens of Gotham are concerned. Political talking points are brought up, and passion is very obvious on both sides of the discussion. Now, on one end, the police have always officially denied having anything to do with the Dark Knight. Gordon has never even officially acknowledged that Batman exists, but yet we have him standing by while he savagely beats the Joker on camera. On that same token, the GCPD, with Joker's many, many arrests, have never really been able to convict him of anything larger than armed robbery. Now, on the other hand, the citizens of Gotham need to support the police. After all, it is the city that gave birth to supercriminals, and legal or not, Gotham needs Batman in any capacity he wants to put himself in. And if that means beating down the Joker, so be it. Well, wait a minute. What about accountability? Now, if the Gotham City Police Department can't stop Batman from crossing any sort of line, then who really can? Trust on the police department is already at an all-time low, with corruption and police brutality already plaguing the department as a whole. The city is divided and people want answers. What exactly is Commissioner Gordon going to do, and what is his relationship with Batman? The gentleman expresses what a lot of other people must be feeling at this time. He never thought he'd see the day when people anywhere in Gotham would defend somebody like the Joker. Let's move over to a hospital in Gotham now. The Joker lies in a bed, several machines attached to him as he sleeps. People are finally seeing what kind of maniac Batman really is, and Bullock is expressing that very statement to Gordon. Now, Montoya grabs Bullock by the tie. He saved countless lives, even Bullock's. Passions are really starting to flare here as Bullock asks just what kind of city would allow some crazy person, some weirdo, to fight crime in their underwear. Gordon chimes in, ever calm, and reminds the both of them that the GCPD has absolutely nothing to do with Batman. Bullock calls that out right there. That is a load of literal bull, and Gordon knows that. Bullock wants to put Batman in cuffs, wants to arrest him right there, but Gordon held everybody back. That's not going to work anymore. Bullock finishes off by saying that if Batman had been wearing a badge, he'd have been arrested for assault. Batgirl slips in through a window as Gordon excuses himself to speak with her. Now, Barbara is showing concern as her and her father talk about the Joker's condition. Napier hasn't said a word since he's been brought in, and they have no idea what kind of pills he was forced to take or their side effects. Napier is tough, but let's be honest here. That's not the person Commissioner Gordon is really worried about at the moment. He should be, though. Here, we're given a glimpse into Joker's past. First is Napier, then is the Clown Prince of Crime, Harley Quinn, the Asylum, all with Batman's presence always in the background. Always there. Always around. Napier wakes. Is the nightmare over? Napier's cell speaks volumes here. Just take a moment to see everything he has and draw your own conclusions as to why all of this stuff is in here with him. Let's move over to a penthouse in Gotham City now. Bruce Wayne is with Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon, and Dick is asking just what the hell has gotten into Bruce. Now, there's some tension here, obviously, and Barbara's trying to quell that a little bit by letting Bruce know that they're just concerned. They're worried. Bruce never quits, though, cowl or not, as he goes over his initial analysis of the pills. It's almost as if they were designed to be elusive. Bruce, it's like you're not even listening anymore. Just let them know what's wrong. Let them in. Let them help. There's a moment of silence before he asks them both to follow him. A book is pulled and a secret passageway is revealed as Bruce Wayne begins to head down the darkened stairs. It's Alfred. Something's wrong. Dick asks what exactly is wrong with him, and Bruce simply replies that he's dying. Dick asks how that could be, and Bruce just doesn't know. He's been like this for about a month, and as Dick Grayson sits there, he notices right away the ice forming off of some of the hoses and wires that are connected to Alfred. That's Freeze Tech, and Batman is working with Mr. Freeze, isn't he? Bruce and Freeze have been making a lot of progress in the past month, both for Alfred and for Freeze's whole existence, which is his wife. He didn't tell Barbara or Dick any of this because he hoped he could fix it, so that way they wouldn't see Alfred in this type of condition. In a moment of weakness, Bruce lets himself break down a little bit as the only family he has comes together in a moment of sorrow and comfort for each other. Back to Napier, conscious, awake, and thinking. When Jack was younger, he was enamored with Gotham City. It was the center of the universe to him. It was full of wonder, full of energy, but all that was really just a lie. It was no different than wherever he'd come from before getting into the big city itself. Now, he honestly tried to connect with the people of the city, tried to make them laugh. But you really can't do that. You can't bring out any emotion in people if they just don't have any. And Napier really wasn't that good at comedy anyways. You know, Gotham had gone numb. Gotham needed something, and if comedy couldn't do it, what about terror? Jack turned to a life of crime and got quite the response out of the people of the city of Gotham. But then Batman came along, and he worked the city in ways that Napier never could. It became an obsession at that point, and it just spiraled out of control. Jack, or the Joker, had to know everything he could about Batman. Anything to get close to him, even if it meant becoming each other's greatest enemies. Batman hated the Joker, and Napier loved it. And in his eyes, love and hate are really two sides of the same coin. But whatever this was the Joker and Batman had, it's all over now. And Napier really has to ask himself, what happened? Did Batman change, or did Napier, the Joker, really ever know him at all? That right there certainly is the question. Inside Arkham Asylum, the mayor and commissioner are having a discussion. Joker has terrorized this city for years. How could anybody outside possibly be defending him? Gordon pours himself a cup of coffee as he tells the mayor that this really isn't about the Joker. The people outside really see this as just another in a long list of police brutality in the city. The mayor reminds him that he put Gordon in the role of commissioner to fix the department. And for the past year, that's exactly what he's done. He's cracked down on corruption. He's suspended officers responsible for causing race riots in the city. And as far as Gordon is concerned, the department is clean. It's Batman that screwed up. The mayor goes on to say that Gordon himself insisted the city turn a blind eye to anything that Batman does, but that only works if Gordon can keep him under control. There shouldn't even be a Batman in the city, and the fact that there is shows Gordon is incompetent. It doesn't matter how Gordon feels about the department. If they condone vigilantism, then they're still corrupt. Now, a Dr. Leslie Tompkins is buzzed in, and she has information on the condition of Jack Napier, and it would seem that, with some plastic surgery and stitches, physically, he's going to be just fine. But that's not what she's worried about. She's very concerned with his mental state right at the moment. Gordon takes the medical file on Napier as he states that it's the Joker. That's 100% mental right there. Dr. Tompkins disagrees. No more laughter, smiles, makeup, anything. There's just no more Joker. That's impossible. He's got to be faking that. Well, fake all anyone may want to. You can't fake their IQ tests, or a CAT scan for that matter, and Napier is scoring well above genius level at this point. Now, Gordon asks where Napier is at the moment, and Dr. Tompkins tells him he's been in the Arkham Library for the past 3 days. He hasn't slept, and he hasn't eaten, and what he's doing right now is he's working on his legal case. He's going to file charges on the police department, on Batman, and on the city itself. And with his newfound mental capacity, everybody in that room needs to be worried right now. Can't they just barge in there and stop him? Absolutely not. It's all public record in there, and it is Napier's constitutional right to do exactly what he's doing right now. Now, the mayor is trying to find any sort of reason they can use to go in there and put a stop to whatever he's doing. Are the pencils too sharp? The paper clips? But Gordon reminds him that Napier has never been a cutter or anything like that, anything of the sort. He's never attacked guards. He's never attacked inmates. And if they did go in there and put a stop to whatever it is he's doing, it would only make them look guilty. Now, Montoya comes in to let Gordon know that they're ready, and as Gordon walks out, he asks Bullock if he's pulled all the information the city has on Napier. Obviously he has. How about a little trust here? Gordon doesn't want Napier to have any sort of upper hand, and as they walk into the cell, the mayor asks exactly what they plan on doing. Well, they're going to have a conversation with Jack Napier, of course. Joker. Mr. Napier will do. Gordon asks him how he's feeling now. Napier's heartbroken. He's jilted, but he knows exactly why he's here. Gordon wants to make him an offer. And picking those cuffs is going to be pretty easy as the conversation moves on. Now, Gordon starts in on Napier, telling him that there's plenty of evidence to put him away for a long time. But they could work something out. But Napier says no, absolutely not. He wants this to go to trial. He thinks he can get off. He's the Joker. I mean, come on. But no, Napier's done taking the blame for Batman. It's the city's turn. Now, Batman has put countless people in danger by driving an unlicensed, weaponized tank over the rooftops of the city. Let's not forget the construction site where he injured 3 people by plowing into a cement truck, or knocking over the security guard as he trespassed onto private property, destroyed thousands of dollars worth of medical equipment, and assaulted Napier as he was trying to surrender. Never mind the fact that all the officers that were there stood by while Batman forced unknown medication down Napier's throat until he stopped breathing. What does all that add up to? Well, it adds up to a laundry list of broken laws, and if the city won't arrest Batman, Napier has no choice but to file charges against the department to answer for Batman's crimes. Wait a minute. Hold it right there. Napier, Batman isn't a cop. He's not part of the Gotham City Police Department. Well, yeah, he is. Let's not forget the bat signal that's kept under Gotham City Police supervision. There's plenty of photos of that. Now that makes the department an accessory to anything Batman has done. Oh shit is right, Bullock. Napier loves this city, and it's time he paid her back the debt that he owes her as the Joker. Now, the city deserves much better than him, much better than the Joker, much better than Gordon or Bullock or Montoya, the police department, anything like that, and definitely much better than the Dark Knight. Napier is going to give this city exactly what it needs. Him as the White Knight. His name was the Joker. Every bit of it, the hair, the makeup, the laughter. Nobody had seen anything like it before. As a matter of fact, they even coined a phrase for people like him, supercriminals. But it's all nothing but a lie. You see, Jack may have started out as a criminal, but he was never a murderer. When he was arrested, no evidence was ever shown to prove he had committed such a violent crime. But yet, with robbing a bank, he ended up serving 10 years in prison for that. And the system just never wanted to let him go. To Gotham, Jack was an excuse. With his reputation as the Joker and his unstable mental state, it all worked perfectly. While they claimed to give him medication and therapy, he was really being turned into the monster the city needed. You see, the elected and the insanely wealthy of Gotham created a new revenue stream for them, and that was crime. Whenever anyone questioned how money was being spent, the Joker would conveniently escape and bring back in the taxpayers and their fear. Arkham Asylum was created, and there the Joker was really defined. But he's not the only victim. All the citizens of Gotham are. The people were convinced that Gotham was a special place with special problems, and only men and women dressed as bats, or Nightwings, or Robins could control the flood of crime plaguing the city. Over the past few weeks, Jack has shown the people this evidence. Don't make him pay for the Joker's crimes. The doctors have shown that he's cured, so it's time to set him free, so he can fight those people in control and take back the city that they all love. Gotham Insider, the city's nightly news program. Now, on one hand, the gentleman on the left cannot believe, as a fair amount of other Gothamites no doubt agree, that the Joker has been released. He has to be guilty of at least half of the crimes he's been arrested for. But the woman on the right speaks a little bit of truth here. Without much evidence, which the police department has not been able to produce, there really isn't much that they can do with him. With Jack's harsh critique of the city itself, he struck a chord with social justice warriors in the city who now see him as some kind of hero. Now, his popularity in harsher neighborhoods is on the rise, with citizens in Blackport supporting him as they protest against the GCPD's treatment of minorities in the city. Now, add to all of this that trust in the government and the GCPD is at an all-time low, and Jack Napier has somehow put himself up to be a sort of patriot. But is he for real? Or is all of this just part of some larger scheme? Jack arrives at Zoinko's Joke Shop, a place he knows very well. Now, as Jack reaches for the door, it's pulled open and we see a Margot Robbie version of Harley Quinn standing in front of him. She's very excited to see him, and she goes right in. You know, that face just won't work. Ugh, God. We're going to have to get it fixed up in no time. Jack is trying to get her to stop, to listen for a moment, but she's pretty focused on getting Jack to look the way that he did before, like the Joker. But, hands to her shoulders, he tells her to stop. They need to talk. He hasn't been himself lately, and he's been thinking a lot about this particular moment right here, and he's got something that he needs to say. First, an apology. What? For the way he's treated her all of these years. She was there through everything. She was kind, supportive. She put up with the very wild mood swings. It was all just an obsession with Batman, and she got caught up in the middle of it. Well, hey, those mood swings were her favorite part. Keep talking, Jack, because she's getting... No, wait a minute. He is not joking around here. Can't she see how unhealthy all of this is? He knew she was in love with him, and he took advantage of that because it gave him power. But that's all over now. He's finished with Batman, and he wants to give Harley the version of him she's always wanted. Puddin', will you? A ring. A husband. A family? Nice try, loser. You almost had her there for a second as she punches him square in the gut, knocking the wind right out of him. What did he just call her? He's sitting there talking about feelings in marriage. Jeez, enough of this crap. Go put on some makeup so both of you can go rob something. But he needs his pills. What? God, stop with the pills. You don't need them. All they do is mess with your head. And besides, she's not your puddin'. Nope, not at all. Not as this foot connects right to her face and sends her off Jack. The ring is picked up and we find out just who Jack's puddin' really is. That would be the real Harley Quinn, ladies and gentlemen. Wait a minute. She left? That's right, but now she's back and she's taking him back. Jack doesn't need some bimbo cheerleader that can give herself a black eye. Oh no. You see, this imposter Harley loved the Joker, but the real Harley loved Jack, flaws and all. And now that he's cured, well, he's hers now and she can just buzz right off. As she helps Jack out of the joke shop, he asks very simply where she's taking him. Home, she says. And that's right where we see Mr. Freeze. This is all he has, all he is, all he can be, and it's all for her, his wife. The lab of Bruce Wayne and Mr. Freeze. A scientist inside the lab says they're ready to begin an attempt to reverse the freeze tech. Barbara is by Alfred's side as Bruce calls on Victor Freeze again. He is ready, he says as they begin the procedure. Barbara has moved over to Bruce and Freeze now as she sees the mice they're about to test on. Her excitement at the cuteness level is unmatched here even as she shoves them into Freeze's face. He tells Bruce to begin the experiment, and as Bruce flips a switch, water or some form of liquid starts to pour into the container with the mice. Her excitement quickly goes to great concern as water fills up the container. They're drowning. What's happening here? The experiment was a success. The mice are alive, much to Barbara's delight. Now, Freeze says there's absolutely no time to waste, but Bruce says that the mice need to be studied first to see if there are any lasting side effects. Freeze obviously isn't listening, and he thanks him for his help, as invaluable as it is, and for his ability to harness technology pioneered by the Third Reich, and it has now given him a chance to finally be with his wife. He thanks Bruce and Bruce's father, but his time is through, and he would like some privacy. Well, wait a minute. Bruce's father, Thomas Wayne? If Freeze doesn't think Bruce has thought of 100 different ways to stop what he's about to do, he's got enough... Too late. The dial is turned and liquid starts pouring into Freeze's helmet. Whatever it is has begun, and there is no stopping it. As quick as they can, Barbara and Bruce remove Mr. Freeze's helmet, hoping he's still alive. Mist and gases escape where the helmet was removed as Freeze stays motionless for a moment before taking a giant gasp of air. But he looks very different. What's happened to him? Rapid aging, a side effect Bruce was hoping to avoid. Now, Victor Freeze was frozen in his 30s, but it's been 50 years since then, so now he looks the age he's supposed to be. Helping him to his feet, Bruce asks him how he's feeling. Warm, he says. Barbara has discovered that the mice from the experiment have died from that rapid aging, and she asks if Freeze's wife, Nora, would survive any of this. Bruce just doesn't know. None of them do. And even if she were to survive the reversal of Freeze's tech that is currently keeping her suspended, they still don't have a cure for the McGregor's disease that she was infected with before, which is why she was frozen in the first place. Now Freeze collapses, so close, yet still so very far away. Jack and Harley. Home sweet home. It looks so normal. Well, that's right. A temporary thing while Harley is on parole. Just cozy enough for her and her totally domesticated hyenas. Tea, anyone? Wait a minute. Harley drinks tea? Well, yeah, I mean, she always has, and it's just one of the many things that Jack decided not to notice about her. Now, Jack makes the comment that this Harley, the real Harley, actually left him, and the other Harley just took her spot. How had he not noticed this before? Well, Harley goes on to explain that Jack is a narcissist, as well as his many other mental issues, all made worse by a chemical imbalance on top of that. He's not cured, but with the right help, he could be. She is a psychiatrist, remember? She pours him the tea as he sits for a moment before telling her that the Joker is still inside his head, still messing around, wanting Jack to lose very badly. Now, it sounds like he did a number on both of them, Harley says. What happened to make her leave? What did Jack do? He really doesn't remember? He was so easy to fall in love with. the most exciting man she'd ever met, and she didn't feel like a criminal with him. She just felt free. She doesn't know if he ever really loved her or that he was even capable of love, but she didn't care. His obsession with Batman, however, continued to grow, and it seemed like she was sharing Jack with him. The more she struggled to gain his attention, the more he tried to do the same with Batman. And she realized it just wasn't her that he was in love with. One night, she had come home to find Robin tied up in their basement, beaten half to death. Now that's when things stopped being funny, when Jack, the Joker, was ready to murder Robin just to get Batman's attention. His name was Jason Todd, and no matter what the Joker did to him, he was not giving up the identity of Batman. She tried to stop him, tried helping Robin by giving him some sort of medical attention, but the Joker put a stop to all of that, and that's when she had finally had enough. She unloaded on him, forcing him to admit that the only reason Robin was here was because of his jealousy that Robin was closer to Batman than he ever could be. The man she loved, Jack Napier, was no longer there, and she hated the Joker for destroying him. That's when Harley turned to the only person she could think of to help him. She promised Batman she would show him where Robin was if he would just get the Joker the help that he needed. But when they got there, Robin was gone. Harley really thought Batman was going to kill him that night, but he didn't. Batman took him back to Arkham with any hope that they'd find out where Robin was. But they never did. Batman never spoke to her again, but when she was on trial, he did manage to get the courts to go easy on her. But not for tracking Jack down. No, for stopping Batman from killing him. Jack asks if Joker did murder Robin, but Harley doesn't know. Only Jack does, or moreover the Joker. Now, there's a pause for a moment before Jack says that he can't remember, and he really doesn't want to either. He just wants to start moving forward. He wants to save Gotham. But how? Well, lead a rebellion, turn Gotham against Batman, and show all the damage he and the Joker have caused. Show the corruption between politics and vigilantism. Gotham City could be saved by the least likely person ever, Jack Napier and Harley Quinzel. Now, he can't do this alone. He needs her help. Are you ready to be good guys for a while? The Socialites of Gotham. Bruce is showing us an amazing car he's donated, and the lady here is very excited about it, but the man behind her, pounding back yet another drink, is asking Bruce if he just couldn't have donated something a little less expensive. She comes over to Bruce, working on his tie, and she asks where Alfred is. Now, they're never apart, and Bruce says he's not feeling well. And Pierce, the now irritating drunk, is flabbergasted that Alfred, as old as he is even still alive. Oh, stand down there, bodyguard. Bruce is one of you guys. He's one of you socialites. Now, the woman here asks Pierce if this is exactly why he hired this bodyguard, so he could be a jerk all the time. Well, as a matter of fact, he did. He did receive some threats not too long ago. Now, a reporter wrote a piece on his investments in Arkham Asylum, and now he's being sued and also being called one of Jack Napier's gatekeepers. This is why it doesn't hurt to have that extra security, and if things get worse, he might actually have to step into his office for a change. I mean, come on. That's impossible. The nerve of that. Now, a news report is playing over the televisions at this event, and it notes that Gotham's new power couple, Jack and Harley, after receiving a rather large settlement from the Batgate scandal, have decided to donate everything they received to build Backport's new library. Now, Jack goes on to say in the interview that it wasn't the police or even his own plea that set him free, but the poor and middle class of Gotham that did. They have embraced his message, and they deserve all of this. Not them. But what about Batman? Jack goes on to say that Batman is the pit bull of the 1% in Gotham, helping businesses while minorities continue to suffer in the city. Now, Bruce screams for that program to be shut off, but Pierce, further disconnected from everything, is very curious why Jack would set up a library in Blackport. Well, wait a minute, Pierce. It's Backport. Get it right. But Pierce goes on to say that Jack is right about Batman. Now, he's made millions off of him in real estate alone. Batman fights crime in the poor neighborhoods of Gotham, which are then labeled Bat Impact Zones. Now, the price of real estate drops to pennies on the dollar, and then they receive grants to rebuild. The trick is, though, buy low and then sell high after the taxpayers foot the bill to repair. Pierce is profiting off Batman's war on crime? Well, of course. I mean, everyone here is. Crime is Gotham's greatest bet. Bruce's anger spills over as he clocks Pierce across the jaw and just as quickly takes out his bodyguard. Now, the lady asks what has gotten into him as Bruce stands over Pierce and the bodyguard while everybody stops to watch. Bruce stands there for a moment before leaving without a word. Hidden away in some Gotham pier, Jack has gathered some of Gotham's most unsavory people, as he states that he, at one time, hated all of them, and they hated him too. All of this turned into a game of almost got him, and that's how Batman got the best of them, keeping them always fighting each other instead of fighting him. Penguin declares that the clown has lost his way. Croc says something about a big giant rock, and Jack continues that they need to pool their resources and work together. Two-Face flat out disagrees. They work alone. Bane chimes in that Jack wants to make himself the leader of all of them to pull something like this off. Poison Ivy will never agree to anything like that. Oh, Jack knows that. He only called everybody here to talk, to have a drink. Bane, Riddler, Croc, Scarecrow, all of the majors, and some of the minors in Batman's Rogues Gallery. Now, Harley hands Jack the Mad Hatter's top hat, and people are starting to question now. Where is the Hatter? Where is Clayface, for that matter? Well, he's here, more or less. As Jack puts Hatter's top hat on, we see what happened before the entire Rogues Gallery was brought together. Now, Jack is using the Mad Hatter's cards and mind-controlling headband to take control of Clayface. Will Clayface even survive what they are about to do to him? Jack honestly doesn't know. But he may feel a little bit of pain when he's turned to dust. As Harley collects Clayface into those little vials, she asks why they just can't use the Hatter's cards to control everyone. Now, Jack needs a small army, and with the way the headband and the cards work, it would be just too difficult to use them directly. But controlling Clayface? Why, using him as a conduit to boost a signal if people were to, say, drink him while he's being controlled. Why, that's just so much easier. Is it working, Harley? Of course it is. Someone is not very happy inside Zoink's joke shop. As this woman gets prepared, she calls Jack a liar, taking too many of those damn pills, destroying everything about the Joker, and Harley is pushing him right along. Anything for a relationship with the Joker, or Jack, whoever he is right now. That Harley is just another cell for him, and she thinks he won't break out, but the Joker's more than just any man. Why, he's an absolute riot! Downtown Gotham, and it looks like the Rogues Gallery is having an absolute blast. Literally. Croc terrorizes, Bane smashes, Two-Face shoots, and Ivy destroys. Typical Tuesday, am I right? Typical Tuesday indeed. Batman arrives and slams right into Bane, sending him flying. Nightwing struggles with Penguin as Batgirl takes Roxy right off of her rocket. Nightwing can't believe that every villain in Gotham is attacking right now at this very moment. They're supposed to hate each other. Well, it seems like they figured out that if they actually work together, Batman, or anyone working with him, doesn't stand a chance against all of them combined. Batman chimes in. Separate them. Get them to move somewhere with less people. Flipping a switch, one of the many gadgets on the Batmobile is activated as a grappling hook wraps around Croc and Bane's legs, trapping them together. Nightwing hops on his motorcycle, and Batgirl, always wanting to fly Roxy's rocket, happily takes that as they speed right behind Batman. Who's following them so far? Just the Two-Face gang. At least it's a start. Bullets are flying everywhere as Batman heads down the freeway. Up above, in a police helicopter, Gordon, Bullock, and Montoya watch the events unfold. Now, Montoya tells Gordon that response teams are en route. Gordon is watching Batman move off the freeway toward Backport, the Two-Face gang following closely behind. They need to stay with Batman. Bullock loudly disagrees. Their officers are overwhelmed down there and they need to stay here and offer air support. Montoya also agrees with that. Batman can obviously take care of himself. No. Gordon says they need Batman to win this. He gave an order, now go. Down on the ground, it occurs to Batgirl exactly where they're heading. Backport's new library that is currently under construction. Batman corrects her. It's the Joker's library, and there won't be anyone there at this time of night. It's wide open, and it's their only option. Batgirl yells that Backport needs that library. They can't go there. Batman cranks the wheel on the Batmobile, sending Croc and Bane crashing into the construction site of the library. Joker is obviously behind all of this, and the library falls right into whatever plan he's got going. Batman doubts that he'd let Bane and Croc destroy it. Well, Batman, it's a good thing you're never wrong, is it? As they bring that library crashing down all around them. Batman takes off after Croc and Bane, Nightwing not too far behind, as Batgirl yells from behind that the building is collapsing. Batman is climbing out of the rubble. Nightwing is looking for Bane, Croc, and Two-Face. Batgirl is asking if Bruce is okay. He yells at them to get away from him, barely able to pull himself into the Batmobile as he activates the medical protocol inside the machine to take him back to Wayne Tech. Gordon lands just in time to see Batman drive away quickly in the Batmobile. As Bullock yells to Gordon, Montoya says the attack is now spreading across the city. Batgirl simply asks, "What's happening to us?" Harley and Jack. Their plan worked. Harley explains the events that just took place a few pages before. The cops are busy with the attack on the city, Bane and Croc destroy the library, and Batman is buried in the rubble. Jack knows better, though, and he knows Batman would have escaped to patch his wounds. Jack informs Harley to have everyone go on standby. This may need to happen again. Harley's impressed. Jack predicted all of this would happen, down to the last detail. But he doesn't take credit for any of that. Thank the Joker for all of that, and that he's still in his mind. If only the Joker could see him now, but that's not what Jack wants. To him, he wants the Joker gone for good, erased. Napier pulls out a stack of files and says, "When you take away all the superheroes and criminals, Gotham is just another city drowning in paperwork. And do you know why the pencil pushers make paperwork so dull and boring? To hide the city's secrets. And that, right there in his hands, is Gotham's biggest." We see a trail of blood as Bruce is stitching himself up, something Alfred would have done without question if he were still awake and well. Bruce looks over, a moment of compassion and sorrow as he touches the hand of the only family he has left. He begins to break down, but collapses as Alfred wakes with Bruce on the floor, covered in blood. Jack is giving a speech showing the victims of Batman's destruction against various villains. In Harley's hands is a young child whose roof collapsed one night when Batman was chasing the villain Firefly, who ended up escaping anyways. Now, there are hundreds of children like this in Gotham. Hundreds of people that, when the damage is done, who pays their medical bills? Let's not forget the biggest toll, and that is the emotional damage that's caused. Yet, Batman is never held accountable. Now, nobody keeps track, except for the 1%, of course. They need you, the citizens of Gotham, to pay for all of this. Of course, they keep the Batman Devastation Fund secret, slipping it into the Natural Disaster Relief Fund bill and keeping everything hidden under a private firm. Now, money is set aside for floods, earthquakes, hurricanes, and yet Batman's destruction in the city is all a part of that. Jack shows his proof. Records uncovered after Batman's attack on the city. How much do the records show it costs to repair the city per year because of Batman? Get ready for this, guys. $3 billion a year. Money, again, that's set aside for floods, fires, earthquakes that never happen, but yet still pay for Gotham's only disaster, Batman. The gatekeepers profit off all of this and make the taxpayer foot the bill with damaged rooftops and their children's safety. This is why Batman moved the fight from downtown, so the rich could be spared and the people of Backport could be expendable. They destroyed the library that was being built for this section of the city. Jack knows trust is hard to come by. People will always see him and know him as the Joker. But he's also the best and only bet they have to hold Batman accountable. Turn the Joker's abilities into an advantage for the city and hold Batman to the devastation and destruction he's caused over countless years. Bruce wakes, a tube of freeze tech sticking out of his hand. He's been out God knows how long as he calls out for Alfred. Turning, he sees him slumped in a chair, passing some time earlier in the night. Words barely come out as he calls out Alfred's name one more time through tears and heartache. Days later, at Alfred's funeral. Though many are here, Bruce is alone. Pictures showcase different parts in Alfred and Bruce's lives, giving us a glimpse, but a true meaning of the type of man he was and just what he meant to Bruce. Alfred is irreplaceable. I ran away once. Dick tells us a story about a time when he took off, and it wasn't Bruce that came looking for him and eventually found him, but Alfred. Alfred hugged him and told him he would always be there and always be his ally when Bruce acted out. Now, Barbara sees the tombstone of Jason Todd and asks who that is. Dick tells her that he was the Robin before him. Now, remember, this whole story takes place outside of continuity, so in this timeline, Jason was the first Robin, not Dick. Now, Jason was supposedly killed by the Joker, but no remains were ever found. Who's buried there then? Well, nobody. Why was Barbara never told? Something like this is a pretty big deal. Now, Bruce keeps the memory of Jason very close to the chest. He was like a son to him. Barbara reminds Dick that he is like that for Bruce as well. Well, if he was, then why was it Alfred that stopped him from running away and not Bruce? When Dick got older, he reminded Bruce more and more of Jason. Now all they do is fight. Barbara couldn't possibly begin to understand any of this. She has a father, and he's still alive. She says that Dick is becoming more and more like Bruce as the days goes on. Dick counters that Bruce is brutal, reckless, an absolute. Barbara agrees, but putting the emphasis of her point and driving it home. The library was destroyed, and Dick didn't even bother to check if anyone was in there. Well, I mean, they survived, though. Bruce is going over the edge, and she needs his help. Dick isn't a part of any of this anymore. He's only here for Alfred right now. Barbara is starting to get really frustrated. Regardless of what outfit he wears, he still is and always will be a Robin. It's a fight between them and Bruce now. Alfred was the only thing keeping Bruce grounded in any sort of morals, and now with him gone, there is no protecting the city from him, except for her and Dick Grayson. Back to Jack and Harley. A casual stroll down Backport's neighborhood. She loves it when it's just the two of them. Can this be a regular date night kind of thing? Sure, Jack says as they come across a few muggers. Now, the muggers ask for wallets, and Harley hands her purse casually to Jack as she cracks the first mugger, taking him out before slamming the other into a metal post nearby, removing him from causing any more problems. Someone in the shadows comes out with a gun, telling all of them that that is enough. Step back. Who do we have here? The muggers, Derek, Jamal, and Crib, are reprimanded quickly, the man letting them know exactly who they just attacked. That's Jack Napier and Harley Quinn. Apologies come out, stuff is given back, and they're reminded that they know the rules of this part of the city. If they had had guns or drugs, things would have turned out very differently. The man puts his gun away as he comments on Harley's moves. Aikido and boxing. She used to teach classes in Arkham, sometimes to the guards, always against their will. Now Jack begins to ask how he knew they were here before the man cuts him off. The whole place is wired. Cameras and microphones pick them up as they strolled into the neighborhood. By the way, his name's Duke, Lieutenant Duke Thomas, ex-Special Forces, and now runs a youth group in Backport. He helped to consolidate the gangs in the area, and Jack was very much hoping to run into him. Harley comments on the gun, but Duke tells her that if there were cops here in Backport, none of them were any good. Besides, they could try and take his gun from him, but he's not going to give that up very easily. Jack asks for a place to talk, and Duke tells them about a YMCA not too far away where they can go. As they head in that direction, Duke reminds Jack to stay exactly where he can see him. Though Backport may like him, he's still the Joker in Duke's eyes. As they walk, Duke talks about after he left the Navy, he did join the Gotham City Police Department for a short time. But when he exposed and reported corruption in the department, Internal Affairs sided with the other officers, and you all can guess the rest from there. Duke does have respect for Gordon, however, and even though he can see why Harley and Jack don't, Gordon is a good soldier and doing the best he can with what he has. It's more complicated on the front lines, though, either here in Gotham or overseas fighting a war. Gordon is working with what's available to him, but he's being played just like everybody else. The difference is, though, Gordon knows it, but he's willing to fight the politicians and corruptions they could never understand. Like him or not, Gotham needs a guy like Gordon. Jack makes the point that perhaps Gordon is allowing Duke to be in Backport to work the way that he does. The thought has definitely crossed Duke's mind. He points toward the door to the Y and motions for them to follow along. As they walk in, Jack is recognized and he shakes hands as Duke tells Harley he has a fairly large crew here, some ex-military and even more doing recon on the streets. Jack asks how he got the gangs to work together, and Duke replies that he simply told them to do the GCPD's job for him. Does it work? Well, not all the time. Duke turns a blind eye to some things in exchange for cooperation. Sometimes there is a problem, and when that happens, they deal with it. The point is, Backport is much safer because of all of this. Like Gordon, Duke is working with the limited resources he has. As they reach Duke's office, he finally asks Jack the reason for their conversation. Jack begins by asking his thoughts on Batman, and Duke says that the only thing people here hate more than the cops is Batman. Jack needs his help. Don't expect Duke to help the Joker, though. Well, let's just hear him out. See what he has to say. Gordon is fighting another fight currently. A swarm of reporters. Dozens of arrests have already been made since the attack on the city, and more leads are being followed. Gordon and the GCPD want these guys off the streets as much as anyone else does. They just need more time. Is Napier behind all of this? No more questions, says Gordon. Now he steps inside and sees Batman. Please tell me you have something, he says, and Batman replies that he's still working on it. How in the world could all of the criminals of Gotham be working together? What in the hell could unite them all on one front? As they walk, Batman states that Jack used the attack to gain access to classified documents, namely the Batman Devastation Fund. Gordon knew he'd find some sort of corruption, but Batman counters that it's just all part of running a city like Gotham. Did Batman know about the fund? No, but he assumed. Gordon is a little furious at the cost to clean up after Batman in a city like this. Well, wait a minute. Are you questioning his methods? As a cop, no. But as a taxpayer? Oh, yeah. Batman does what the police can't. That's always been the understanding. As they walk between the cells, they start to put pieces together, coming to the start of a conclusion that the criminals of Gotham are being controlled by Mad Hatter's mind control device. They've searched all of them yet, but have found no evidence so far. If Hatter is controlling them, however, he's doing it some other way. Now, in another part of Gotham, a figure is snooping around, looking for something or someone. It's the other Harley, and she's found exactly what she's looking for. Puddles of Clayface, and as she opens the door, she's startled by just what she's looking at. A catatonic Clayface, mindless and drooling in a closet. Is he alive? She looks further and she sees Hatter off in the distance. Heading over, she removes the mind control headband as Hatter comes out of his hypnotized state. Joker? No. A Neo-Joker. Curious. Was Jack here? Hatter says yes. In metaphor and riddle, he explains that the cat with no grin took his hats and cards. She plans to have a tea party. A tea party? Why, of course, but that's a very large table with too many unruly guests. Other Harley is irritated. English, please. Hatter goes on to explain Jack's plans. He wanted an army, but the hat and cards couldn't control everybody, so he fed them Clayface instead, who's controlled currently. That's impossible. Well, nothing is impassable. She asks if Clayface is alive as she touches him ever so slightly before he crumbles into a pile of dust. All that's left is parts of him that aren't clay, with a card stuck right into the middle of his brain. Obviously, that's disgusting, but she thinks he's still alive in whatever state this could be considered. Can Hatter override the mind control? He sure can, so long as he's closer to Clayface's brain than Joker is. Wait, did you hear that? Tag along if you must, Mad Hatter, but enough with the Alice in Wonderland talk. Curious. Curious indeed. This has gone on long enough. Napier must be arrested. Now, this is what the mayor of Gotham City says as he and Gordon drive through the city itself. Arrest him for what exactly? Well, how about protesting without a permit, threatening to incite a riot? Gordon shuts all of that down. Napier beat the system. He won legally in a court of law, and without a legitimate reason, Gordon will not arrest Jack Napier. Supercriminals will not lead a revolution in Gotham. If you have to invent a reason, then Gordon, that's exactly what you're going to do. Gordon was told to end corruption, and Jack is right. The GCPD has bent the rules or broken them for far too long. Now, just imagine how it looks that the Batman Devastation Fund was channeled through the mayor's old firm. It does not look good at all. How dare you, the mayor says, but Gordon is right. The mayor orders the arrest of Napier. Gordon says absolutely not without a legitimate reason. Besides, they need to think bigger here, like how they're going to earn back the trust of the thousands of Gothamites Jack has already won over. The crowd chants Duke Thomas's name as he shouts a big thank you to the crowd that's gathered here in Backport. When he first met Jack Napier, he did not trust him. He thought he didn't know Backport, didn't understand it, or relate to it in any way. Do they really want a super criminal living here? So, he went around asking the police what they thought of Jack Napier, seeing as they're always telling everyone how bad he is. And you know what he found out? There are no police in Backport. But do you know who is? Jack Napier. He's not here for crime. He came to build a library, upgrade the youth club, and get kids off the streets. Little by little, Duke's trust in Jack grew more and more. It's true the police have files on Jack, and Duke too. Even some of those out there in the crowd. But you know what? Even though he doesn't look like it, Jack Napier is one of them. That's why Duke is voting for Jack for city council. He's got the city's attention, and he's telling them that places in Gotham like Backport are not the burdens of this city, but the 1% is. The crowd chants Duke's name over and over in agreement. Jack takes a microphone. He thanks Duke and tells him that he's honored. What Duke has done for Backport has inspired them. Now, they want to help the cause, and Jack's done a lot of bad things in his life, but if he can use this publicity to help, he's one step closer to forgiveness. Getting a second chance was not easy, and Jack knew he and Harley wouldn't fit in. Everybody is turning their backs on them, but not Backport. Backport is where the Shun go to get a second chance. They've embraced Jack and Harley with open arms. And this is bigger than gaining a seat at the table or influence in the police department. What's starting here in Backport is the beginnings of a revolution to take the city back from the elites. Their arrogance, their abuse, their neglect is now Backport's advantage. Jack stands with Backport to end corruption, to take back the city from the 1% and hold them accountable and make them answer for vigilantism that has harmed this neighborhood and many others like it. Who's with him? Everybody. The crowd starts their march, and as Bullock sees Jack, Harley, Duke, and the crowd coming toward them, he tells the other officers to leave Duke alone. Bullock wants him all to himself. Gordon sternly reminds him they're not here for a fight and that they need to let these people march. Jack and Duke head to the line of police that are preventing them from going any further. Jack greets Gordon. Is he here to keep them from their right to protest? Bullock says they ain't marching without a permit. Funny, Duke filed those last week, but as of yet hasn't heard back from anybody. Bullock says he never saw him, and even if he did, he doesn't help turncoat former officers. Well, fancy that. Duke doesn't serve on corrupt police forces. Gordon yells for Bullock to stand down, but he's not listening. Montoya tries to de-escalate, telling Duke she grew up in Backport. She just doesn't want to see anybody get hurt. But to Duke, she's not one of them anymore. She's just another cop. Things are starting to get very heated when Batman comes out of nowhere, crashing into Duke, laying him out and throwing Napier down to the ground. Batgirl comes in from behind. What's he doing? Keeping this from escalating any further. Batman, you're just making things worse. No, Batman's right, Bullock says, as he puts the cuffs on Duke. But they have a right to march. The crowd is not happy, and rightfully so, as Harley yells for Jack. Batman calls for Nightwing, and someone yells for Jack to be let go. Jack holds his hand up and tells everyone to stop. Stand down. He doesn't want anybody hurt. He will go with the police of his own free will. Wait, What? When Jack is councilman, the police and he will have to learn to get along. But he wants them to remember everything was peaceful until Batman showed up. As he climbs into the back seat, he tells Gordon to get in the car. Let's talk. Gotham Insider, the nightly news program in the city. Just when you thought there would be another riot in Backport, Jack Napier comes in to save the day. No, Jack is playing identity politics and trying to awaken the history of violence in Backport. The man's co-host disagrees, and she resents that statement very much. She was born in Backport. The people are right to be upset with the police department and Batman. Jack has done more for them than the city ever has. It doesn't bother her that Jack is attempting to white knight a bunch of minorities. The city has never listened to the black population in the city before, and Duke was right in finding the palest person he could, the Joker. Nobody will run against Jack Napier. They're too scared. No, they're too afraid to go against the people of Backport. Napier is waging a social media war, and the politicians do not know how to respond. This is insanity. Napier can't win. Well, the people of Backport were allowed to march and protest, and so far people are keeping the peace. Duke released a statement saying that the protests would continue and they would continue to stay peaceful so long as the GCPD worked with Napier. I mean, come on. What's Batman supposed to do here? Tweet back? The first thing Jack's going to do when he becomes councilman is increase the coffee budget, because what he's drinking now is absolutely horrendous. Cut the crap, Jack. We all know who you are. This is just a long con you've got going on. Gotham does have a problem, but it's not Jack. He's just the messenger. Wait, corruption in Batman? Screw that and screw you, Jack. How else are they supposed to deal with supercriminals in the city? Jack's more responsible for Batman than anyone in Gotham is. So, Gordon, you're admitting your role in all this then. Batman was supposed to be a temporary solution, but now he's an addiction, and Jack and Gordon both want the same thing. A solution. You've always been a good cop, Gordon, and Jack knows he'll want to hear his plan. What, arrest Batman? To hell with that. No, he wants to redistribute the Batman Devastation Fund. Wait, the same fund he's been attacking them over? The fund was a clever idea, and Jack understood why they made it, but it was also easy to use as leverage to get what he wants, and that is to give the funds directly to the police department. To buy them off? No, to create a Gotham Terror Oppression Unit, the GTO. Bring the best the department has to offer and bring in the city's vigilantes, having them work alongside each other, work together. Have Batman finally work inside the department instead of alongside it. Jack wants Batman to trade in the cowl for a badge. He'll never do it. No. He and his kids can keep their secret identities, but they need to play by the rules. GPS, body cameras, etc. He's just asking for accountability. Again, Gordon says Batman will say no. Obviously, but Batgirl will agree. She's already showing she's fed up with Batman and even tried to pull him off Jack earlier that day. She won't listen to the Joker. No, Gordon, but she will listen to you. And when she joins, so will Nightwing. Then they'll be able to give him something Batman never could. The secret to all those wonderful toys. If Batman really wanted to end crime in the city, he'd have shared all his high-tech gadgets. Don't you think that advanced body armor would have protected a few of the officers that he's lost in all of this? They've never needed any of that stuff before, Gordon says. You're going up against supercriminals and you're armed like a deputy with no bullets in his gun. As councilman, Jack wants to give you the tools you need to save lives. The GTO is a good idea. Gordon, you'd only wish you thought of it. Holy sh... This is actually really impressive. Outside the courthouse, Duke seems a little surprised that Jack was able to get out of jail so quickly, and Jack tells him he was never, in fact, arrested. Gordon is on the fence about his new GTO plan. He still thinks Jack is the Joker. Harley states the obvious. Can you really blame him? Whether he does or not, Gordon needs to get over that. There's a city to save here. Harley stops him, turns him around, and makes him look at her. When did he decide to turn into a good guy, huh? Jack's a little confused, and Harley goes on to state that at first it was a vendetta against Batman, but somewhere down the line he became the hero. Take her out tonight, Jack. But there's so much left to do. Jack, Duke even says to take her out, or someone else will. Let her show you the kind of love you and Harley really deserve. Later that night. Is the offer still on the table? Which one? Jack asks. Harley pulls out the engagement ring from quite a while ago and shows him. Jack just isn't sure. Part of him is still the Joker, hiding in his mind, and he's just 2 pills away from destroying everything he's built so far. Harley brings him close. She won't let that happen. Marry her, Jack. I do, he says. The other Harley. She now controls the villains of Gotham, and they are ravaging the city as we speak. Montoya and Bullock come out of the precinct and see the destruction before them. What is that? Some kind of Joker? No, she says, I'm just a stand-in. We can now call her Neo-Joker. Bane and Croc smash into the police station on the ground, while Batman, Nightwing, and Batgirl crash in from above. Batman goes after Croc, Batgirl takes on Bane, and Nightwing puts a fist to Two-Face, who has also made it inside with them. Hatter and Neo-Joker are further inside, Hatter yelling at her to stop destroying everything. Nobody's ever made it this far in the GCPD before, and it's the perfect time to download all of their files. Bane is on the roof now, destroying the bat signal. Everybody is distracted as Bane launches the signal across the roof, hitting Gordon and taking him over the edge. Batman instinctively dives after him, one falling faster than the other until Batman grabs his hand and pulls him in close. They crash into the ground, the bat signal crashing feet away from them. Within moments, Gordon is on the radio, telling everybody they need to pull back, but someone responds that they're already leaving. Gordon shouts a word of surprise as he's told Neo-Joker and the rest, after downloading what files they wanted, just left, but they're starting to go after them. Gordon and Batman stand over the shattered remains of the bat signal. Batman says he'll get him another, but Gordon gives a hard no. He's done defending him. Gordon needs a new plan, and after this, the city will demand it. Batman says they'll adapt, like always. Gordon has had enough. He doesn't even know who Batman is anymore. Trusting the safety of the city to one man in a cape and cowl is absolutely insane. Can you even hear how crazy that sounds? And now there's another Joker running around. How much more can this city possibly take? Napier is right, and Gordon lays into Batman even more by telling him if he provided them with Batmobiles, utility belts, and any other tech, he could give them to the real heroes in the city, the ones that aren't afraid to show their faces and put a stop to all of this. Napier's GTO plan, Batman says. Gordon continues that soon he may not have much of a choice but to work with that psycho. Options are running very low, and Napier's plan is good. If Batman wants to help, fine, but if not, stay out of the way. Batman is about to say something before Gordon simply asks if this is the part where he's usually supposed to disappear. Well, don't worry, Bats. Gordon will save you the trouble. Reports are coming in of at least a dozen injuries and several officers missing. Jack is trying the Mad Hatter's mind control headband, but it's not working. Someone else has control now. Harley is putting on her gear, grabbing the mallet, and says it's obvious who it is. It's the other Harley. No, it can't be. Oh, it is. She figured him out and is now trying to steal him away from her. A voice chimes in from the archway of the room. Let him figure it out for himself. It's Neo-Joker, and she's not alone. She also has Bane and Croc. Croc slams Jack into the wall as Neo-Joker comes over and says to let him out. Let who out? Why, the Joker, of course. The real Harley is held tight by Bane as she screams that he's gone, to leave them alone. It's weird. They both are in love with two versions of the same person in this frail little body. Jack never loved this imposter Harley. No, but the Joker did. Now let him out. Joker's dead. Now, that's a lie. She can see him moving around behind those eyes. Give her the pills, Jack. Jack resists. She wants to force him back into a type of psychosis so she can reclaim a fake love? Where are the pills? None of it was real. All a case of mistaken identity. Jack thought Neo Joker was the real Harley. He's sorry for how things happened between them, but he's not the man she's looking for. Not anymore. Neo Joker pauses, almost hurt, before regaining her composure and continuing on. Jack's wrong. Joker is still in there, and all she has to do is draw him out by doing the one thing he never could, and that's taking control of Gotham. Joker's massive ego won't let her surpass him. Joker already took Gotham by becoming Jack. The city is his now, and he won't give her up without a fight. Well, you won't have much of a choice, because the only way you're going to be able to defeat her is if he unleashes the Joker. A new bat signal is up and shining, bringing in Nightwing and Batgirl. Where's Batman? Gordon says they really only need to speak to them. Jack Napier steps out and asks for 10 minutes. Batgirl flatly refuses. No, 10 minutes. To show them how Gordon plans to save the city. 10 minutes. Fine. They'll do it for Gordon, but no longer. Jack starts by saying that vigilantism isn't working, but Gordon has convinced him there's a lot to consider with that. In a way, Napier has more respect for Batman than any of them, but he's being stubborn. He's not adapting, seeing the bigger picture. Jack doesn't want to fight anymore. He wants to help them, but how? $3 billion from the Batman Devastation Fund. It certainly buys a lot, and do you know what else it buys? A fleet of Batmobiles and state-of-the-art equipment. This is the GTO, and it pairs Nightwing and Batgirl with the police. Better coordination and planning, less damage to the city. They keep their identity secret, and Gordon runs the show. The best part? They each get their own Batmobiles. Neo Joker returns to the Mad Hatter. He's tinkering with some things as he asks how it all went. Destroying the police headquarters didn't do anything to bring him out. If she wants Joker, she's going to have to think bigger. If he were here, he'd know what to do. Who? The Joker. She misses him a lot. Now, we finally get an origin on her here. She worked at a bank Joker robbed. She had been a cutter and had cut herself bad enough that she wanted to see how many customers would come through before she bled out. And then, all of a sudden, he was there, putting a gun to her head and threatening to kill her. She snapped back. She wanted to live and would do anything to make sure that happened, including robbing the bank. He started calling her Harley. She had a good idea of what the real Harley looked like, so she played along. Called him Mr. J. She always expected him to hurt her, to kill her, but he never did. Before long, he brought her one of Harley's old costumes. The only time he did anything to her was to bandage her wounds. She wasn't a prisoner and was free to go at any time. She never found a good reason to, or to even tell him she wasn't the real Harley. He saved her life. If it wasn't for him, she wouldn't be here today. It is definitely Stockholm Syndrome, and she's aware it's not healthy, but it was one of the only times she ever really had true happiness, and now it's gone. Hatter sits and listens before finally asking her what her name was before all of this. Marion Drews, she says. Maybe it's for the best that she's not with him anymore. A small chime cuts in from the computer, and Hatter says that they're in. They've gotten into the police department's files. Marion comes over and asks exactly what Hatter is looking for, and he tells her. Something to give her an advantage over Napier. Well, wait a minute. There's a lot of security files around Victor Fries. Holy smokes. It looks like Fries was an SS officer in the German military, but the records are incomplete. There's this thing about a pardon, secret tunnels under the city, but who is that he's shaking hands with? Well, that's one of the richest families in all of Gotham, the Waynes. Popping pills is becoming a regular occurrence, and so is coughing up blood, it would seem. Harley expresses great concern here, but Jack just plays it off. He'll see a doctor later. Well, Jack, Harley is a doctor, and she'll see you now. Jack makes a quick statement saying the pills sometimes upset his stomach, but he turns to more pressing matters. Is Harley going to train him to fight? Like, really learn how to fight? Batman's getting desperate. Jack has taken the police, his family, and the city itself from him. Jack has beaten him in every way except one, and that is a good old-fashioned fist fight. Harley makes a good point. He's Batman. You just don't beat him up in a one-on-one. Jack informs her that the pills are also kind of like a steroid. With those, her help in training, and a little luck, Jack thinks this is something he can actually pull off. Just don't hit the face. Training begins, and quick. Harley kicks. Jack blocks. Good. A punch is thrown with Harley giving instruction to keep an eye on her waist. She'll tell him where she's going to go next. Again. Acrobatic fanciness takes place as Harley asks if he's even going to fight back. He doesn't want to hurt her, he says, as she kicks him square in the face. Not the face, he screams at her. Do you think Batman is going to hit that pretty face, Harley says? And she's right. Jack is on his back, screaming about being an elected official now. How would it look if he showed up anywhere with a black eye? Oh, quit your whining, Jack, and go put on your makeup. Mad Hatter and Neo Joker's hideout. Batman moves in alone, coming down the stairs, surveying what is in the room. Batgirl and Nightwing come in from a side window, and Batman states simply, but firmly, they're late. They were talking with Gordon. If that means anything to Batman, he does not let on as he goes into the problems at hand. 2 massive assaults, one in the financial district and one at GCPD headquarters, all done by criminals who never work together. But there's something else. What? Asks Nightwing. Their silence. Has there ever been a time when they fought Bane, Two-Face, Riddler, the Joker, and they all haven't had a novel's worth of things to say? Well, this time, they didn't say anything. All said nothing except for Hatter and Neo Joker, which means they must be controlling the other villains with Hatter's mind control cards. Nightwing points out the obvious. There were no mind control cards visible anywhere. Batman rubs some sort of material in between his fingers. Is that dirt? No, it's clay. Clayface is the one villain that hasn't shown up through all of this. He has to be involved somehow. Batgirl starts to bring up something else on her mind before Batman interrupts. The GTO. No chance in hell he's going to join. Napier has changed, Nightwing says. Nothing has changed. The Joker got out of Arkham, and this is just his latest scheme. They've seen it 100 times before. Batgirl chimes in. Gotham is changing, and the city is offering them a chance to change with it. Have they both forgotten everything the Joker's done to this city? Of course not. But until Napier breaks any laws, there isn't anything they can do to him. Batman, your way just isn't working anymore. The GTO is a perfect compromise. They get to rebuild lost trust with the city while they still keep an eye on Jack Napier. Batgirl tries to get Nightwing to calm down, but he's not listening anymore. Batman stands his ground. Dick wants Napier to win. Is that right? So he can show Batman that he's finally been proven wrong and becoming Batman's better. That way, Batman isn't Nightwing's only villain, but Gotham City's as well. Jack Napier became everything this city needed, and it's eating Batman apart that Gotham would rather embrace a reformed criminal than him. That means Batman's afraid of him, and maybe, with everything Bruce has done to make this city better, going down this path was the wrong thing to do after his parents' murder. Okay, that's enough. Batman is ready to pummel Dick Grayson into the ground before Batgirl has had enough of her own. With trained quickness, she tosses Batman far enough away so neither of them can come to blows. She has had it. They both suck. Why is it always a pissing contest and she's stuck right in the middle of it all? Bruce gave you everything, Dick. You do not get to talk to him like that. And Bruce, you really need to think about your next move, because the city is fast losing patience with you. No more words are spoken. The Gatling gun is shot as Batman swings away, any thoughts on his mind staying firmly with him. Harley Quinn stands alone on the balcony of the apartment her and Jack share. "I was wondering when you'd come," she says as Batman appears from the shadows. Joker is in way over his head. This is her only chance she can help him. Help him what? To put him back in jail? No thanks. Batman tells her his thoughts. He thinks Joker started all of this, forcing Clayface to play some part in taking over the supercriminals and destroying his own library in Backport to gain a political foothold in the city. His name is Jack, Harley states, and if you could prove any of that, he'd be arrested right now. Well, there's an oversight Batman didn't expect. The other Harley. And now she poses a bigger threat than Joker ever did. Why should this Harley, the real Harley, help Batman? Well, she did come to Batman once before, the night when he went too far with Jason Todd. It's all happening again. Things are getting out of control and people are really going to get hurt. He can help. Sorry, Batman, but not this time. Jack isn't the threat you think he is. Does Harley ever wonder why he was so easy on her all those times? Why she never spent much time in Arkham? Because he wanted her with Joker. As bad as he thought he was, only Batman and Harley knew how bad he could be. Harley kept him sane, or as sane as he could be kept, and kept him from going over that edge both knew he would never come back from, if he ever did. They stand in silence a moment. Mutual respect for one another before Harley breaks that silence. Batman bought her a dress once. That time she almost blew her parole, Batman stood by her. She still has that dress, by the way. Even when she was losing Jack to his obsession with Batman, she never got mad at Bats, because deep down she knows he's a good guy. But being a good guy doesn't always mean you know the right thing to do. Jack isn't a villain anymore. Batman, please, let this go before it's too late for you. Is Batman the only one in this whole city that can see that psychotic maniac for who he really is? Batman lashes out and destroys a brick post on the roof. Harley winces, but not in pain, just surprised at this outburst. Quickly, she steps up to Batman and tells him that Jack has made this city better forever. But he can't see that because he's too busy trying to figure out where it all went wrong. He and Jack want the same thing, but neither of them will get it unless they work together. Batman leaps from the rooftop, disappearing into the city as Harley stands alone. Jack comes out from inside, listening to the entire exchange. He had never heard Batman yell like that before. He must be getting to him. Harley tells him to stop. She meant every word she said, and if he and Batman weren't so damn stubborn, maybe things would get done. Outside Wayne Manor. Mad Hatter and Neo Joker sit inside a van, going into a little bit of Hatter's history here. Was he a big Lewis Carroll fan before or after he met that Alice girl? Stop interrupting him, he says. Well, wait a minute. Did he ever think the only reason he loved Alice was because of her name? Hatter breaks. Shut up! Nobody's perfect. Sometimes we fall in love with the wrong people. Am I right, Marion Drews? Yeah. As Hatter does his work, he notices that military-style hardware is protecting Wayne Manor. What could he be hiding in there? Who cares, Neo Joker says. So what if he's hiding Nazi records in there? Patience, Hatter says. Information is the key to power, and any supercriminal worth their weight in salt knows exactly that. If there's even a chance to learn anything about the most powerful family in Gotham, it's worth looking into. Fine. Knock the gate down and let's go. That's her solution to everything. Shoot first and ask questions later. How about some tact for a change? Neo is in charge here, and Hatter would do well to talk better to the person who currently controls every supercriminal in the city. She's doing well for an amateur, and unless she wants to lose the upper hand, she better smarten up. Hacking into those computers will take a while, and unless she has a better idea, she better settle in for a long night. Well, actually, she does. Vines take out security cameras. They slither and creak and wrap their way into the mansion, finding one of many electrical panels that's obviously important and destroying it. Hatter is impressed. There's potential for her yet. Now what? Patience, my dear. Ivy rides her vines across the property of the manor, other vines creeping further into the house itself. What are they looking for exactly? Some kind of hidden secret room. Something you'd hide a family secret in. I think she's found it. An alarm goes off in the cave as Batman works. How did she figure that out? A secret room that hasn't been open for a while must have stale air, which some plants can sense. Brilliant. But how did you know? She didn't. Ivy did. She can sense some of her thoughts when she uses the headband. They found it. Files on the SS and the Freeze family. It looks like a project involving hidden tunnels running throughout Gotham. Just look at these blueprints. It's all been hiding in plain sight. Hush. There's something else. Ivy senses many more rooms beneath the mansion. Oh, my Lanta! Hooligans! Get off of my property! Hooligans? That's a bad impression of a rich guy. Hurry, let's get out of here. He may have called the cops. Hatter says that as they drag Bruce Wayne down the hallways and outside. They quickly escape as someone pulls up right behind them. Nightwing steps out, asking what happened. Bruce, still keeping up appearances, tells him they found a room he's never seen before. Did they find the back? Hey, nice robes! Bullock shouts that from his car as he pulls up alongside. They went out the back. Bullock has him on radar. Nightwing tells Mr. Wayne to stay put. They can handle this. Yeah, fat chance. Are they being chased by a Batmobile? Yeah, lots of them. Gordon, from above, tells his team they've cleared a channel all the way to the Gotham Bridge. They'll make an arrest there. Is that understood? Yes, sir. Nightwing, Montoya, Bullock, Duke, and Batgirl all excitedly reply. A homing beacon is launched, connecting to the van as Montoya comes in from the right and Bullock comes from the left, pinching Hatter between them. Nice moves, guys. But there's incoming. Everybody ready? This is for Backport, Duke says as he slams right into Bane, sending him flying. Batgirl and another come from behind, trapping Bane and Croc. Good thing these cars were fireproofed, Montoya says, as Scarecrow attempts to firebomb her. I think it's working, Gordon says as he and Jack watch from the air. The actual Batmobile crashes onto the scene. Neo Joker, Hatter, and Ivy trying desperately to get away. It slams into Hatter's van, Poison Ivy falling off and tumbling away. Get out of the way, Bat Freak, Bullock yells. Stand down, Batman. The GTO has this under control. What the heck is he doing? Someone get him to back off. Batgirl gets on the intercom. Batman, what are you doing? Protecting my family, he says. The Batmobile and Hatter's van careen over the side of the bridge, falling downward toward the river below. The van hits a barge and explodes. Clear the bridge, Gordon commands, as the barge goes out of control, smashing into one of the pillars holding the bridge together. Batman survived, and he has Neo Joker. Why were you at the Waynes? What were you... Clayface? What's left of him is pulled from Neo Joker's backpack. Batman is taken aback, and that's all the time Neo needs, as she cracks him in the face with a kick. Hurry! The bridge! It's going to collapse. Gordon and Jax survey the damage. Gordon gets on the radio. An APB is put out. He wants Batman arrested. He's no longer a vigilante in the city. He's now a super criminal. The Wayne Freeze Laboratory. Victor Freeze is looking over data. The aging is irreversible. The picture of Thomas and Victor shaking hands is slammed onto the table. A bloodied Batman standing over. Start talking. The Waynes have many secrets, don't they, Bruce? Somewhere else. Every now and then, the Joker would cry in his sleep. Some nights were worse than others. She'd wake him up, hold him, and caress him until he stopped. It was terrifying. It was the only time he'd ever let her hold him. What did we talk about, someone says? About how nobody can ever really take over Gotham. Joker was destined to fail, but he was obsessed. If it's impossible, why even bother? You see, to Joker, Gotham was a warm light. He just wanted to hold it close enough, long enough, for Batman to notice, just so he could give it back. That's when the two of them were closest. That's how she knows Joker is still alive. Eventually, he'll try and give it back to Batman. This time, though, there won't be a warm light to give. Tell me who Batman is. Batgirl gives a very flat no. Nightwing says that wasn't part of the deal to bring them onto the GTO. Gordon doesn't like it, but Batman has left them no choice. As a direct result of his actions, Gotham Bridge is now in the bay and every supercriminal in the city was able to escape. Gordon wouldn't be doing his job if he didn't try to put an end to all this. Spill it, Bullock says. Nightwing holds firm. He'll help them bring Batman in, but not like that. Napier chimes in. Nightwing is right. He broke the law as Batman, so bring him in as Batman. A symbolic end to his era. Then they remove the mask so people can know and be sure. Bullock tracks him going westward. Nightwing will help them arrest Batman, but the mask stays on. That's non-negotiable. Batgirl can't believe what she's hearing right now. Are they serious? Nightwing says they're right. Batman brought all of this on himself. After everything that man has done for the city, serving for decades, they're just going to start taking the word of a reformed Joker? She's had enough. She's leaving. You made the right choice, Nightwing. I'm here for this city, not you, he shouts as he punches Napier square in the jaw. They need a plan. The GTO cars are tough, but they're no Batmobiles. Bullock agrees, as does Montoya. That thing is like a supercomputer with 4 wheels. Well, an EMP would do, right? Well, yeah, But it would also knock out power for 6 blocks and shut down the GTO cars too. Batteries and computers would be fried. They need something tough like the Batmobile, but old school, analog. Do they have anything like that? No, but Nightwing says he can steal one. Sorry, kid, but Gordon's got to take this one on. He should have arrested Batman years ago, and if anyone is able to bring him in, it's Gordon. Old versus new. He's speeding up, Bullock shouts. Is Duke in position? Roger that. Batman's onto him. Is everybody ready? Both Batmobiles increase in speed and pull well ahead of the rest. Is Team 2 ready? Ready. Lights on in 3, 2. Light 'em up! Batman is temporarily blinded. Gordon's blindfold is working. When the EMP goes off and the light's out, he should be able to see perfectly. 3. He's in neutral and coasting. 2. His engine's turned off. 1. Now! Lights are out. Anyone got a visual? Is Team 2 on the radio? Negative. Their radios are fried. Team 3, have they made it through the warehouse yet? Bats is out on the warehouse and all over the place. The Bat is blind. I repeat, the Bat is blind. Now, they only have a few seconds. Where's Gordon? Here, he says. He has eyes on Batman, and he's about ready to restart his engine and take pursuit. Let's hope that lead lining worked. There's an engine. Anyone got a visual? Yes, flames. The plan is working. Where's Batman? Out of control, but he's regaining his vision. Where's Gordon? Batman has a mirror full of him right now. It looks like he's going to do a pit maneuver. Sorry, old friend, Gordon says, but someone has to get through to you. Gordon slams into Batman hard, sending this new Batmobile up and over as the old skids on its side. Gordon climbs out, as does Batman, both bloodied, both tired. He'll always be the Joker, Batman says. That's not Gordon's problem right now. Batman is. Tired and hurt, Batman leaps off the side in an attempt to escape, crashing into the city streets below. Not yet broken, but very badly hurt, Batman attempts to get up. You're not easy to get over, a voice says as Jack Napier steps out from inside a vehicle. Part of him never wants any of this to end. Batman comes at him, batarang to his throat before Jack points out he's completely unarmed. Don't you want to beat him the old-fashioned way? Batarangs fall to the ground, a utility belt comes off, as does the cape. With quickness, Batman gives Jack exactly what he wants, a hard right to that beautiful face. Now that's more like it. Blow after blow, punch after punch, kick after kick is traded between the two. These Goliaths of the city having one last, final match. Jack headbutts and Batman counters with a punch, sending him down to the ground, right next to his utility belt. Grabbing it quickly, Jack puts it around Batman's neck, choking him until he falls unconscious. Jack Napier, the Joker, has thought about this moment right here for decades. To see Batman broken and vulnerable. Dear God, what has he done? Arkham Asylum. The plan was to capture Batman to keep him out of the way, not lock him up inside the asylum, Nightwing exclaims, obviously upset. They have the best doctors here, Gordon says. He'll get all the care that he needs. It's also the safest place for him while they hunt down Neo Joker. Napier arrives, a broken and beaten Batman draped over his shoulders. This doesn't feel right, Grayson says. Gordon agrees. They'll figure this out, And Batgirl's right, they owe him at least that much. Two security guards help take Batman, one of them proclaiming that it's finally time to see who he really is. Jack Napier's having none of that. No, the terms were to keep his secret. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light comes out from Gotham Harbor. Your patience has finally paid off, Hatter says to Neo Joker, who stands on top of this massive cannon pointed at the city. You are now the most dangerous villain in the history of Gotham. We're ready when you are. Do it, she says. The cannon erupts with power, sending a massive freeze ray across the scope of the entire city, instantly covering it and anyone caught outside in a devastating layer of ice and cold. The airport, ships in the harbor, cars caught on the bridges, everything. This ought to get his attention. My God, is all Napier can say as he, Gordon, and Harley Quinn survey the city, now in a deep freeze. What have I done? Harley says, awestruck. Wait, there's something written in ice on the side of one of these buildings. What does it say? See for yourself. Batgirl is out, swinging across the frozen city. The day they unfroze the mice, you said something about freeze tech, she says. Is that massive cannon yours? Something you built under the old German embassy with tech pioneered during the last days of the Third Reich? Victor Fries takes all of this with patience as he works on something before him. I assume you're the lab tech, he says. Oh crap, she's still got her costume on. Don't worry, he knows who Batman really is and their secrets are safe with him. How did Freeze find out? The day Batman came back to the lab, he had lost a lot of blood and passed out before he could tend to his own wounds. With only one bed in the lab, Alfred gave it up for Bruce. Alfred died to save Bruce Wayne without hesitation. His last request to Freeze was to keep Batman's identity secret, which was something he was very happy to do. Anything for the legacy of Thomas Wayne. Victor first met Thomas Wayne when he was a boy, back during World War II. He was working with the Allies, utilizing top Nazi assets for a secret program. High-profile prisoners like Victor's father were a part of that. Now, Thomas Wayne convinced the Allies to let Victor's father continue his work on Freeze Tech, and the entire Freeze family was given to the Wayne's custody under one condition. All work had to be kept off U.S. soil. That's why that machine was built under the German embassy. Thomas wasn't interested in the weapon. He only wanted the Freeze Tech's healing abilities. But Victor's father insisted it was most effective as a weapon. The Allies agreed and removed Thomas from the project immediately. They eventually named it Project Paperclip and continued to use former Nazi scientists and tech for their next war, a Cold War, ironically. Victor hated his father for his past and could never forgive him for something like that, nor could he forgive his father for his treatment of Victor's soon-to-be wife, Nora. They ended up leaving, seeking out the Waynes to help develop the cryogenic medicine. Thomas was like a father to Victor. He even paid for Victor and Nora's wedding, but was killed before he could attend. All this was told to Bruce. The Waynes were a family of fighters, and they were willing to risk everything for what they thought was important. It's time for you to go now, Batgirl. Victor's wife is out of time. So you won't help her? No. The freeze cannon was built by his father. He knows nothing about it. Now please, let him be alone. You're taking too many pills now, Jack, Harley says as he pops a few more. What do you want him to do? Go back to being the Joker so he can deal with that pathetic copycat wannabe? She's in way over her head. Harley grabs him by the collar. She's not pathetic. She's a person who loved him and wanted to give him everything. Don't underestimate her like you did Harley. Jack brushes it off yet again. She's nothing more than an oversight. Well, she is controlling an army of supercriminals and knows Jack used Clayface to stage the first attack on the city almost a year ago. You've had a good run at it, Jack, but it seems you are in over your head. Maybe it's time you let someone with actual experience in something like this take over. What, Batman? Didn't he just spend the past year telling the city his types of methods didn't work? Gotham doesn't need Batman. Maybe, Harley says, it's time you finally admitted you were wrong. Gordon's rallying his troops. Thousands of citizens in Gotham are frozen in the streets, many more trapped inside their homes. Both bridges are out, so there's no leaving the city. They're trapped here. Bullock chimes in. If they attack from the air, they'll be shot down, and the frozen harbor means no attack by water either. So what do? The president's already declared a national emergency and declared Neo Joker a threat to the country. They'll be here in a few hours. No, Jack shouts. This is their city. They don't need the government's help. There's no more time. Neo Joker wants Jack Napier now. All they can do is stall until the military gets there. Wait, something's happening. Laughter echoes through the halls of police headquarters. Familiar laughter. Dangerous laughter. The Joker now stands before them and he simply says, "Give her what she wants." That laughter, that undeniable laughter. "My God, Jack, no!" Harley shouts, grabbing onto him. "Easy, guys," Jack says, coughing up some blood. He has it under control. "What was that?" Bullock shouts. "The medication is starting to wear off." "How long have you known?" Harley says, and all Jack can do is apologize. "She won't lose him again, not this way." Jack says he tried to fight it off, but it's only getting worse. "How long can he keep it together?" Gordon asks. "Long enough," Jack says. "Forget that," Bullock shouts yet again. "Look at it this way. He can keep it together long enough to defeat Neo Joker, either by himself or if the Joker takes over as the Joker. Either way, she'll be brought down." Gordon pauses for just a moment before telling everybody to get ready. Batman sits in Arkham, shackled in chains like a criminal. A small voice speaks. "Bruce," Barbara says from outside his cell window, "why are you letting them do this to you? You know how to get out of here." She's begged him to let it go, and she even said something like this would happen. It's like she knew he and Batman would need each other. "Who?" Barbara asks. "Harley," Batman says. Batman knows what's going on. He's figured it out. "Great," Barbara says, "let's get you out of here." No. Neo Joker is too powerful. Joker will be here soon to ask for his help. He'll have no choice. Harley will make sure of it. "I know you, Jack. I've known you for years, longer than you've even known yourself," Neo Joker says, perched on her couch throne, surrounded by Gotham's villains. She even saw Napier inside the Joker trying to get out, the same man who tried to take the Joker from her. That's why she became Evil Harley, hoping that the Joker would remove Napier once and for all. But that's when she let you out. She set you free. "I can't let you do this," Jack says. "Then let him out. There's only one person that can stop her from destroying the city, and it's not Jack." Jack stays motionless for a moment, really thinking this over before he reluctantly agrees. He'll bring the Joker out. He starts to move away when Neo Joker asks where he's going. "Don't question me, you little brat. If you want the Joker, we're doing things my way." Okay. Jack? Am I talking to Jack right now? It should have worked. Jack turned the city upside down, exposed corruption, and won the city itself over, ending vigilantism. All he wanted was for people to see the truth, that their city didn't have special problems and they didn't need someone like Batman to sustain them. But going by the rules didn't work either, and Gotham is still being held hostage by a group of super criminals. What's worse, they're led by a monster of his own creation. He has no choice. He has to give her the Joker. Harley, ever the voice of reason, starts to speak. "Who are you kidding? You were never playing by the rules. You used every criminal in the city to scare them into giving you power. Now's not the time to actually start playing by the rules either. Neo Joker can be beaten. You just need a new way to rig the game. How? By doing something the Joker would never do. You need to work with someone she would never expect you to work with. You need Batman." "Let me guess. Harley sent you," Batman says. "How did you know?" "You're smart, Jack, but you're not seeing every angle here. You want to uncuff him, or should he do it himself?" "So, you'll help him then?" "Batman will always help Gotham. But he wants something from you. A full confession of everything. How you attacked the financial district, how you destroyed the library, and how you're directly responsible for Neo Joker. You have to explain how you exploited the legal system, about all of your escapes from Arkham and the police, and how, through everything, you're still just a murderer. You have been and always will be the Joker." "I'm Jack Napier, not the Joker," he screams. "I made this city a better place." "But you broke the law to do it, Jack." "Well, so did you, Batman." "Batman, you may be better than the Joker, but you're no better than Jack. I assume you want to drive?" Batman marches off, Jack fast behind. "I'll give you a full confession," he says, but Harley goes free. He'll take the blame for everything. "She's more involved than you'll admit," Batman says. "She's the best thing that's ever happened to him." Batman agrees. "A full confession in exchange for Harley's freedom? Deal. But first, you tell Batman exactly what happened to Robin." The Batmobile erupts with life as it shoots down the road. Jack wants to remember what happened that day, but Joker is keeping it from him, teasing him with it. Jack just doesn't know how to overcome him. "You need to make him tell you," Batman says, after sitting there a moment in frustration. "How?" "Concentrate. Close your eyes and concentrate. Joker tortured Jason Todd because he wanted something. It's working. He remembers now. Joker was jealous of Jason. Jealous because he was closer to him than the Joker was. Jealous that Jason knew something Joker didn't. Batman's true identity. Harley had already left to go find Batman when Joker put the knife to Jason's throat. He asked if he had any last words, and that's when Robin broke. I wish I'd never met Bruce Wayne. Bruce can only sit there in surprise. Jack continues. Joker just let him go. Wait, Jason Todd is alive? Why didn't he come back? Jason was broken, not only by the Joker, but also by Bruce for making him Robin in the first place. Then why did Joker let him go? It was all part of the game. It was more fun to let him live and let Bruce dwell on the thought that he was dead, and it would hurt even more when he found out he was alive. The best part? Jason hated Bruce Wayne so much he would rather have Bruce think he was dead. "I'm sorry," Jack says. If Joker thought Batman was Bruce Wayne, why didn't he say anything? Maybe because it made him feel like he had some sort of power over him. Do you believe him? He could be lying. Oh, Jack's known you're Bruce Wayne. He's known for months. He figured it out while investigating the Batman Devastation Fund. At first, he thought the fund was replenished by taxpayer dollars, but in reality, it's all been by companies owned by Bruce Wayne. Jack knows everything, and there's a lot more to the Waynes than even Bruce might be aware of. Victor Fries stands outside the room Nora is now in, recovering. "She survived," Batman says. "She did. Thank God she did." "Thank you for everything," Victor says to Bruce. "Then why aren't you in there with her now?" "And tell her what when she wakes up? That the city is frozen in ice? That no matter what, we can never get away from his father's evil nightmare? That the warm future they deserve will always be at arm's length away?" "She won't see it," Bruce says, "because you're going to help them fix it before she wakes." Victor already told Batgirl that he could be no help. He had already left the island and joined Thomas before the weapon was even built. A weapon that large, you have to have a lot of resources to build. How did they do it? How did they build the lab? How did they get the materials? Not to mention all the workers coming and going. They would have been seen. Tunnels. Thomas had tunnels dug throughout the underneath of the city. Miles of them, connected throughout. Thomas must have made a map. Neo, Joker, and Hatter stole that map. Victor says there's access points all over the city. He used them when he snuck out to see Nora. Show them. Amazing. In all his years in Gotham, he's never seen anything like this. After decades of fighting supercriminals in the streets, subways, sewer systems, nothing like this ever came to mind. Gordon doubts Gotham will ever give up all her secrets. So what now? A systematic attack on all the tunnels in the city. 7 tunnels, 7 Batmobiles. Neo Joker will be ready for that, Duke says. "Forget the GTO cars," Jack chimes in. "He has something better. A lot better. Time for an upgrade, folks." Batman and Joker together will be the last thing she expects. As if on cue, that devious, devilish laughter erupts throughout the garage. Batman lunges, putting Joker in a hold, making sure nothing out of control happens. "Come back to me, Jack," Harley says. "It's okay. It's okay, everybody. He's got it under control." Jack's riding with Batman. "You heard the man. Everyone grab a Batmobile." Batman pulls something from one of his pouches. "What's that?" Batgirl asks. "It's from Alfred. He wrote it before he passed." "What does it say?" Batman doesn't know. He's too afraid to read it. These were his last words, and he's not yet ready to see them. "Are you okay?" Batgirl asks. No, he'll never be okay. If he wrote something like this to them, what would it say? Some type of words telling them to be strong, or something they can draw from on one of their darker days? Would it say something along the lines of, "This is why he's done this type of thing all these years, to avenge his parents"? No. In truth, he's doing it for them, for Barbara and Dick, to make this city a safer place for them, so one day they can eventually take off those masks. A little bit long to fit into a note, Bruce. Arkham gave him a lot of time to think about what's really important. It's time, Gordon says. As he and Batman walk to the group of Batmobiles, he attempts to apologize for arresting him, but Batman cuts him off. No need. You did the right thing, and yes, things have gone too far. None of that will matter after tonight. After tonight, he's going to take off the mask. He's going to tell the city who Batman really is. Here are your orders. Take control of that freeze cannon by any means necessary. No matter what, do not let it get damaged. Neo Joker is secondary, and yes, everyone wants a piece of her, but the city is counting on them to get that cannon under their control and unfreeze everything. No talking over the radio. Complete radio silence. The tunnels they're about to go into are old, so try and not cause any damage while you're in there. If a breach happens, keep your aqua lungs close in case the tunnels start to fill with water. No matter what, keep your foot to the floor and make it to that cannon. This isn't just a battle for the city anymore, or saving lives. It's about their future. After tonight, we bury the past. Do you think this is going to work? Batman doesn't think they have much of a choice. The cannon is the only thing protecting Neo Joker. She'll most likely keep herself out of the fight, probably staying on top of the cannon itself so she can see everything. You need to go after her, Jack. You're the only one that can get inside her head, so stall her by pretending to be the Joker. There's only one problem, Bats. He won't be pretending. Maniacal laughter erupts in the Batmobile, and Napier disappears and Joker takes his place. He always wondered what it was like in here. Very dark, very gloomy, very you, Batman. Batman demands to talk to Napier, but Joker denies. You're better off with me here, he says. Besides, they both want the same thing. To save the city and teach that cosplay Jokerette how to swallow teeth. Trust him. Trust the Joker? Fat chance. How about a 1-hour truce, Bats? You could even treat him like one of your Robins. Bane brings an abrupt stop to the Batmobile, nearly taking it off the ground as Batgirl shouts that she's made contact. Batgirl is in the tumbler. Why does she always get stuck in stuff like this? She can't see anything. Do not engage, Gordon shouts. Those tunnel walls are the only thing separating them from Gotham Bay. Don't slow down for anything, he shouts as Two-Face shoots at the 89 Batmobile. Montoya has her eyes on Ivy and the Riddler. She's moving too fast. Duke and Harley are attacked by Croc and his little friend. Something about cuddling and being the little spoon? Duke and I don't even want to think about that. Bullock slams into Penguin as Nightwing blasts through in the animated series Batmobile. He's almost through. Keep going. Breaching the island in 3, 2, 1. Batman and Joker blast through above, and the rest come in from below. We're through, Batgirl shouts. Gordon says to let him have it. Hatter and Neo Joker are shocked. You've got to keep them from the cannon, he says. If they take control... Shut up, she shouts. She needs to concentrate. There's a million things happening all at once. Croc gets blasted by Harley's mallet. As he tumbles, Bullock is ready to run him down. Daddy needs a new pair of boots. Not so fast. Croc grabs Bullock's Batmobile and takes it up and into the air, Bullock being shaken out like loose change. His gun clatters off into the distance. Duke is right there, though, tossing him a new sidearm as he shouts, "On your 6!" Together, they unload into Killer Croc. Thanks, partner, Bullock says, and means it. Duke calls out to Batgirl. Can you see the cannon? Nope, she can't see anything. Montoya will take care of that as she crashes into Roxy Rocket, taking her out. She can now see the cannon. Time to deliver the package. The tumbler launches into the air. That's one hell of a jump, Bullock says. There's a reason Duke put her into the tumbler. Batgirl punches some buttons and gets ready. The tumbler's coming in fast. Oh dear, says Hatter. Crap, says Neo. With a destructive sound, it crashes into the freeze cannon. Batgirl somehow survived and says that she's made it. She's only able to get that much out as Ivy's vines grip her, bringing her down. You should have brought backup, Neo says. She did. A blast from behind hits Ivy, taking her out as Victor climbs out of the passenger seat of the tumbler. He's all out of ice puns here. They have the cannon under control. Hatter and Neo Joker are on the move. Gordon asks if Freeze can reverse the effects. Batgirl relays and Freeze gives some sort of technical talk about conjunctions and pathways, technical stuff. Say again? Yes, he has it under control. On the other hand, Neo, you are losing control, Hatter screams at her as they run. The cannon is the only way out of this. Well, Neo's got a bright idea. What if they shut it off and let the criminals fend for themselves? What, release Clayface? Hello! You wanted the Joker. You got him, and all the bruises that come with him. A crack to the jaw takes Neo by surprise, but what's left of Clayface comes out of her backpack. The Hatter mind control headband is now broken. Instantly, the powder of Clayface that Gotham's criminals consumed in alcohol shots so long ago pour out of each of them, coming together to reform a very upset Clayface. You, he says, his voice booming as he points to the Joker. Hey there, Clay. Exactly how much do you remember? Joker! Clayface shouts, his voice booming throughout. He's coming after you, Batman says. No kidding. World's greatest detective or what? I mean, come on. Batman tosses him the keys. Take the Batmobile and lead him out of here. You're trusting the Joker? No. He's trusting Jack. Now go. I'm going too, Harley says, jumping into the Batmobile with him. A massive mallet slams into the ground, the Batmobile there seconds before. I've got control of Joker, Jack shouts, much to Harley's surprise. Not sure how long he'll be in control, and this might be the last chance he'll get to say what he needs to. You were right, Harley. Only she knew that inside the Joker was a good man, a man that was as important to the city as Batman. Someone Gotham needed, which is all he ever wanted. Thank you, he says, for giving him a chance to figure out who he really is, and for giving him a chance to fall in love with her all over again. Such a touching moment, which doesn't last very long as Clayface slams a malleted fist into the back of the Batmobile. Snuggle time's over, guys. He's lost control. He can't slow down, and they'll never fit through the narrowing gap of the doors. But this will, Neo says, riding Roxy's rocket right next to them. There's room for only one more. If you really loved him, Harley, you'd let him live. She's right, Jack. Harley tells him this and tells him that she loves him. And Jack says that if either of them are going to live, it's going to be the one who deserves to. He loves you too, Puddin'. Now go get her. The Batmobile explodes. Neo and Hatter just ahead of the destruction on Roxy's rocket. Out of the flames, the Batcycle bursts forth, Harley barely hanging on. "Jack!" she shouts. "Joker!" Neo says. They lock eyes. Hatred coming from both as the intercom lights up. That explosion knocked out the support beams. There's a breach inside the tunnels. Water is starting to pour in out of control. Villains and heroes are clamoring for higher ground. "Nightwing's not breathing," Batgirl says. "Hang on." Villains are coming too, none of them knowing where they are. Bane swallows water. Croc, filled with bullets, floats away. Batgirl calls out to Victor Fries. The cannon is starting to collapse. They're out of time. "I hope you're watching, Father," he says. This is for Thomas Wayne. Heat. Precious heat shines through the city, melting the ice away and freeing the citizens of Gotham from their icy prisons. The police department, Backport, the ships in the harbor, all free. The site where the cannon once stood collapses in on itself. Jack Napier floats amidst the wreckage of the Batmobile and the freeze cannon. The Dark Knight plunges into the water, pulling him to safety. It worked! Reports are coming in from all over the city. Ships are free in the harbor and people are starting to move around. "Great work," Gordon says. "What about Jack?" Batman replies he's not breathing. Immediately, he goes into CPR. Within seconds, Jack coughs up water and asks for Harley. It's a race through the tunnels as Neo and Hatter fly on Roxy's rocket, while Harley Quinn is close behind on the Batcycle. A hatch is up ahead, and as they blast through, water shoots out right behind them. Harley ditches the cycle, grabbing onto Neo Joker as Hatter is left on his own. Crashing into the rooftops, Harley has the upper hand. "He's dead because of you," she shouts. "I tried to save him," Neo says in return. "From you and all those pills, from trying to turn him into something he's not." Harley responds with a very vocal punch to the face. "He was always Jack Napier," Harley shouts. She pulls out Neo Joker's knife and immediately puts it into her shoulder. Neo screams out in pain. "You've got to face facts, Harley. When you fell in love with him, he wasn't Jack. He was the Joker. Admit it. You're ashamed because you fell in love with a deranged serial killer." "No," she shouts. "She loved him despite all of that." "The reason you hate Neo Joker so much is because she's the dirty little reminder of what you used to be." Harley screams, murder in her eyes, as Duke comes out over the radio. "Harley, I don't know if you can hear me, but Jack's alive." Gotham Harbor. "You should have let me drown," Jack says to Batman. "You should have let me die a hero." "I can't do that," Batman responds. "Which one? Letting Jack drown or Jack being a hero?" "Pick one," he says. A familiar sound echoes throughout the docks as Harley pulls up on the Batcycle, Neo Joker bound and captured. "Puddin'," she screams. "I thought you died." "Batman saved me," Jack says. "A deal's a deal," he says. Here's a copy of his confession and the keys to the Batcycle. It may have gotten a little beat up, though. Now, take him to Arkham. He doesn't know how long he has before the Joker takes over again. Let him walk through the gates while he still has his dignity. Jack is being led to a cell, but not his old cell. Why? They built him a new one. Call it a gift from the city of Gotham. "Thanks," Jack says, but he has a request. Marry them while he still has time. Somebody get a priest. Do you, Harley Quinzel, the priest reads as he goes through the vows of matrimony to Jack and Harley. For better or worse, through sickness and in health. I do, she says. And you, Jack, the priest continues, giving him the same words to vow to. In sickness and in health, to have and to hold. Blood comes out as he begins to cough. Harley is concerned. Till death do you part? I do, the Joker screams, grabbing Harley, laughing in her face. The Joker's laughter echoes throughout the halls of Arkham Asylum. Later. Thanks for waiting, Batman says as he approaches Barbara and Dick. I thought we could read this together, he says. There's a pause before Dick Grayson says it's okay. Go ahead. The note reads, I know you waited as long as possible to read this, because you're too frightened to let me go and you don't know how to say goodbye. No doubt, my death made you feel more alone than ever before, causing you to retreat into that dark place where you think no one can find you. And you probably tried to push everyone away, convinced that only the isolation would give you the strength to return. But you were wrong, and that's always been hard for you to understand. That there's no strength in being alone. I'm happy you're finally reading this. It means you understand. It means Barbara and Richard are there with you, and I doubt you could have read this without them. It means you understand how their love is essential to moving forward. But most importantly, it means you're ready to say goodbye. Goodbye, my son. Alfred. P.S. Check the loose floorboard in my quarters. There's something there you're ready to see. Napier confesses. The city would never give him access to the Batman Devastation Fund, so he used force. Using the combined forces of Clayface and the Mad Hatter, he was able to control the villains of the city and attack the financial district, gaining access to the mayor's files. He knew he would be the first suspect, so he destroyed his own library to show he was innocent. He may have been right to expose corruption, but he broke the law to do it, and he put innocent people's lives at risk. Gotham Insider. So, he was lying the whole time. Yeah, but what about all the good he did? He helped Batman save the city from a threat he created. Well, she caught up with Duke, and he had this to say. Of course, Napier wasn't being completely honest. Most everybody already knew that, but he was the only one willing to come to Backport and talk about things the city was trying to ignore. Duke saw an opportunity to help his community, and he took it. Does he regret it? Not at all. The GCPD has acknowledged some of their mistakes and has even hired people from Backport to help run the GTO. All of that sounds like backpedaling. Well, Duke went on to say a little more. He said he's looking forward to working with Harley Quinn, who has just announced that she's donating everything she has to make sure a new library gets built. It's beautiful, she says. Try not to knock it over, Duke replies. Backport is starting to feel like home to her, and it's all because of Duke. Duke's proud to have her here. Harley Quinn, toughest woman in Gotham. Don't you forget it. Later that night. I think I'm the only one who can hear you sneaking up on someone, she says, as Batman comes from the shadows. He knows about the pills. He knows that she created them. She has a background in medicine. She helped him escape Arkham and knew he'd find a way to take them, even if it meant forcing Batman's hand. She was there the whole time to get it all on tape and turn the city against him. This whole time, the city thought Jack was the White Knight, when in reality, it was Harley. You're good, Bats. Not even Jack could figure that out. Who do you think told him? Well, if he knew, why didn't he say anything? Why did you do it, Harley? And it just wasn't for romance either. Joker may have been responsible for terrorizing the city, but Batman wasn't making things any better. Someone had to break the stalemate before they tore the city apart. She had to do something. Why her, he asks. Because nobody knew them both like she did. Two of the most enigmatic personalities in Gotham. Or should she say three? If the city was going to condemn Joker forever, they deserved to know Jack. She was betting he had a lot to show them, and him. She was right. Before Napier reverted back to Joker, he said something about his old cell, about finding the Joker there. What did he mean? Harley doesn't know. Does she think he'll ever revert back? All she gives him in return is a coy smile before walking inside, leaving Batman to figure that one out on his own. Thank you, Nora, Gordon says. Please tell Victor we're grateful for all of your help. The serum has saved a lot of lives, Gordon says to Batman, closing the door. Victor says you guys have been working on it for months and were able to bring Nora out of her stasis. It's like bringing someone back from the dead. There were 2 patients, Batman says, but they lost one. Someone close, Gordon asks. My best friend, he says. I'm sorry, Gordon says. Is that why he's here to talk now? About that? No. He's here to give you these. Keys to the Batmobiles are dumped onto Gordon's desk. Keep them, he says. Gordon was right. He should have shared his technology long ago. It might have saved a lot of lives. Maybe, or it could have all fallen into the wrong hands. A year ago, when Batman almost killed the Joker, that's not the first time he snapped, just the first time Gordon knew about it. Their war on crime has gone on for decades, and it's time for him to acknowledge the toll it's taken and the ugly truth that he's just not suited to be Batman anymore. He enjoyed hurting criminals, Jim. He never used a gun. He didn't take lives, but that doesn't always make him the good guy. It was vindication to be as brutal as he wanted, and it made criminals like the Joker even worse. Sometimes, he's not even sure why he wears the mask. Is it to scare them, or is it because he scares himself? Gotham still needs Batman, Gordon says. He may have gone off the rails a little, but he'll never forget the sheer amount of good they both have done for this city. Agreed. But at some point, they both fell asleep behind the wheel, and that's how Napier beat them. Maybe he did them a favor. Now that they see the flaws, they know what to fix. Give it time. The city will learn to trust you again. No. He needs to tell the city who Batman really is. It's the only way anyone will trust him. It's the only way Gordon will trust him. Guys, what a ride. This whole series, I think, is one of the best modern Batman stories I have ever read. And it was an honor to be able to sit here with you guys through 8 issues of this and go through all of this stuff together. That was absolutely amazing. I'm kind of sad that it's over. Kind of glad that it's over. I need a mental break. But, geez, guys, this story was absolutely fantastic. The artwork, the writing, the ups and the downs, and the manipulation and all of that stuff. It was absolutely amazing. Like I said, this is one of the best, if not the best, modern Batman stories that I have ever read. Uh, Guys, if you liked what you saw and you heard here today, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and hit the notification bell so that way you know when the next episode of Decoding Panels or the Codex Podcast comes out. As always, my name is Tim. This is Decoding Panels under the Codex Podcast banner, and I will see you next time.